The glass doors of the dealership slid open with a soft chime, and every conversation in the showroom seemed to pause. The silence was so sharp, it could have sliced through the leather on a brand new Bentley. All eyes turned. There he stood, six, black, bearded, with dreadlocks pulled back under a wool beanie, wearing a faded bomber jacket, black jeans, and boots still dusted with city grime. He didn't look like someone who'd afford a base model Toyota, let alone the hand-polished Bugatti in the center of the room. That's when Scott, the sales manager, muttered under his breath to his associate, another one walking in to take selfies next to the Lambos. His tone was thick with sarcasm. Tom, the younger sales rep beside him, snorted. Yeah, probably gonna ask if we got free Wi-Fi too. The man took a slow look around. His eyes weren't wandering in awe like most people who stumbled into the dealership for the first time. No, his gaze was focused, sharp, calculating, like he wasn't here to be impressed, like he already knew exactly what he wanted. Can I help you? Scott called out, already halfway to him. Smile thin and professional. Eyes narrowed in suspicion. The man didn't flinch. Yeah, I'm here to pick up a car. Ordered it a few months ago. Scott blinked. A car. That's what they sell here, right? The man said dryly, his voice calm, but there was steel beneath it. Tom gave a small laugh behind Scott, then tried to hide it with a cough. And may I ask your name, sir? Scott asked, his ear sounding forced. Tyrese King. Scott walked back to the desk, typing with dramatic slowness. K-I-N-G, like royalty, Tyrese replied. Tom glanced at the computer screen, raising an eyebrow. I'm not seeing any purchase under that name. Try under TK Holdings, Tyrese said, crossing his arms. It was a custom order, full specs, two-tone Phantom, midnight black and graphite gray, diamond-stitched seats, champagne chiller. Serial number ends in 87. Scott's fingers hesitated above the keyboard. TK Holdings, as in the private equity firm. Tom leaned in. Wait. TK Holdings. That's the group that bought out 3 hospitals and a telecom chain last year. Scott's face drained of color. He turned slowly to look at Tyrese. You're the Tyrese King. Tyrese gave a slow nod. Told you. I came to pick up my car. The mood in the room flipped. Instantly. Oh, Mr. King. Sir, my sincerest apologies. Scott stammered, standing up straighter. We didn't realize. I mean, if someone had told us you weren't expected until tomorrow, and, I changed my flight. I had some time today, Tyrese said, his voice still flat, unreadable. But I appreciate the warm welcome. Tom's face flushed with guilt. We're truly honored to have you here. Let me get you a cappuccino. Sparkling water, Pellegrino, Evian. Tyrese's expression didn't change. I'll pass. Just show me the car. Scott practically tripped over himself as he led Tyrese toward the back area where the high-end deliveries were prepped. He tapped in a code and revealed a sleek, majestic Rolls-Royce Phantom, gleaming under showroom lights like a Black Panther in a tuxedo. Tyrese stepped forward slowly, ran his fingers along the hood, then tapped on the door handle. The suicide doors whispered open. Inside was perfection, just as he had requested. Cream leather, ebony wood trim, ambient lighting that gave the interior a dreamlike glow. Scott hovered nearby like a nervous waiter. We, had the tech package installed this morning. Wireless Apple CarPlay, 360 camera system, all updated, and of course, the custom embroidery on the headrests. Tyrese slid into the seat. The initials TK were stitched in silver thread, elegant and minimal. He leaned back, closed his eyes briefly, then spoke without looking up. You ever judge people by how they walk in? Scott cleared his throat. Well, we do get a lot of tourists. You see, people who just want to look around. Tyrese turned and finally met his gaze. So, you assume if I walk in not dressed in a 3-piece suit, I must be here to take selfies. Scott went quiet. Here's the thing, Tyrese said, stepping out. I grew up 2 blocks from here, that bus stop outside. My mom used to wait there after her shift at the diner. I used to walk past this dealership when I had holes in my sneakers, dreaming I'd sit in one of these cars one day. He looked around. Back then, they wouldn't even let me in. Security would escort me out the second I stepped onto the lot. Tom shifted uncomfortably, folding his arms across his chest. But I worked every hour, every grind. I flipped websites, sold my startup, built my firm from nothing. And now, Tyrese pulled out a small black card, no numbers, no limit. I don't just buy cars here. I own the damn building. Leased it to you 5 years ago. Scott's mouth dropped open. Tom stepped back like he'd been slapped. You're the owner of the property? Scott asked, barely able to form the words. Tyrese nodded once, through a holding company. Didn't want anyone knowing. But today felt like a good day to remind you. He walked slowly around the car, then stopped. Oh, and by the way, I've been thinking, might be time for a new tenant. Scott's eyes went wide. Wait, Mr. King, please. We've had a good relationship with the leasing firm. We've always paid on time. And, yeah, I'm sure. But maybe I want a dealership that treats everyone with respect, not just the ones wearing Rolexes. Give us a chance to make it right, Scott said quickly. We'll sponsor community programs. Diversity hiring will do whatever it takes. Tyrese looked at him for a long, hard moment. Funny how fast people change when money walks through the door. Just then, a young woman in a tailored navy pantsuit stepped in. Sir, your assistant is on the phone. She says, the jet is prepped for takeoff whenever you're ready. Tyrese nodded. Tell her I'll be 15 minutes. The woman gave a small bow and stepped back. Scott swallowed. Jet. Yeah, Tyrese replied. It's how I got here. Parked at the private strip out west. Didn't feel like waiting in LAX traffic. Tom blinked. So, you just flew in to pick up the car and drive it back to the airstrip, Tyrese said with a slight grin. Haven't driven in law for years. Might as well do it in style. He stepped back into the Phantom, the door closing with a gentle click. The engine purred to life with the quiet growl of a beast, too refined to roar. As the car rolled past the stunned staff, Tyrese rolled down the window. Next time someone walks in, maybe remember this moment. Scott and Tom just nodded. And if I do decide to kick you out, Tyrese added, maybe I'll turn this place into a shelter or a mentorship hub for kids who walk by with holes in their shoes. The car pulled out slowly. Heads turned again, this time for a very different reason. Across the street, a young black boy watched with wide eyes as the Phantom rolled by. Tyrese saw him, slowed and rolled down the window again. Hey, he called out. You like cars? The boy nodded eagerly. Tyrese grinned. Hop in, let's take a ride. I'll drop you home. The boy hesitated, glancing nervously at his worn-out sneakers before looking at Tyrese again. For real, Tyrese chuckled. For real, you got permission to ride with a stranger. The boy looked around. His backpack was worn, and his clothes hung a little loose on his small frame. My grandma lives up the block. She lets me walk home from school. She told me to be careful. But you know a good person when you see one. Tyrese smiled. The boy nodded, eyes still locked on the car. Come on, I'll drive slow, Tyrese said, unlocking the passenger side door. You can tell me what your dream car is. The boy climbed in, carefully brushing the seat like it was made of gold. I never seen a car like this before. Smells like rich people cologne. Tyrese laughed. That's leather and success, little man. What's your name? Micah. Well, Micah. I'm Tyrese, and this is a Rolls-Royce Phantom, top of the line. You just made history. You're the first guest in this one. Micah's eyes sparkled. Are you famous? Tyrese paused. Not like movie stars or rappers, but I'm the kind of famous that buys the building the rapper's record in. Micah blinked. You rich. Tyrese smirked. Something like that. As they cruised down Sunset Boulevard, Micah asked every question a kid could dream up. How fast does it go? Why are the stars on the ceiling glowing? Do you ever get bored being rich? Tyrese answered them all, patient and proud, like a big brother guiding someone he used to be. I didn't grow up with this, he said. voice softening. I had to fight for it. School didn't come easy. People expected me to fail. Hell, some wanted me to. Micah looked at him. But you didn't. No, Tyrese said, because I stopped trying to prove them wrong and started proving myself right. They pulled up to a humble one-story home with a chain-link fence and an old bicycle leaning against the porch. Micah pointed. That's me. Tyrese nodded. Tell your grandma a nice man in a nice car gave you a lift. And one day, you're going to have a nicer one. Micah grinned. You think so? Tyrese reached into the glove box, pulled out a black business card. This has my company on it. It's got a scholarship fund on the back. When you hit high school and keep your grades up, send me a letter. Tell me about your dreams. I'll remember you. Micah held the card like it was treasure. Thank you, Mr. Tyrese. Tyrese winked. Now get inside before Grandma starts worrying. Micah ran to the door, yelling something excitedly. An elderly woman appeared in the doorway, eyes wide as she looked at the car, then at Tyrese. He raised a hand, gave a respectful nod, and rolled away down the street. Back at the dealership, Scott was still pacing. Tom sat at the edge of the desk, pale and shaken. We messed up, Tom muttered. We really messed up. Scott didn't answer. He was staring at the lease agreement on his tablet, reading over the clause Tyrese had added years ago when he signed off on the property lease. At the owner's discretion, tenancy may be reviewed at any time upon breach of customer respect or ethical conduct. They had laughed at that clause back then. Now it read like a guillotine hanging over their heads. We have to fix this, Scott whispered. We have to apologize. We have to go to him. Do something. Anything. Tom rubbed his face. We didn't even offer him a damn drink. We basically mocked him. Scott clenched his jaw. What are we going to say? Sorry we judged you because you weren't dressed like our usual millionaires. Tom was quiet. We need a plan. Meanwhile, Tyrese had pulled into the private hangar where a sleek jet awaited him. His assistant, Maya, stood near the ramp, tablet in hand. Flights ready. Quick hop to San Jose, then back to Atlanta tomorrow. Tyrese nodded. Perfect. Have the team check in with community outreach. Make sure the South Central Mentorship Program is still getting funded. Will do, Maya said. Then, glancing at the car, she smiled. So, worth the trip. Tyrese stepped out slowly, looking back at the Phantom. Every second. Not for the car, for the lesson. Maya tilted her head. Their lesson. He gave her a knowing glance. And mine. He looked at the sky. They looked at me and saw a stereotype. And maybe I knew they would. But what matters is the kid who saw something different. The next time Micah walks past that dealership, he won't feel like he doesn't belong. Because he'll remember riding in a car they thought he'd never touch. Maya smiled. That's powerful. He gave her a gentle pat on the shoulder. Come on, let's fly. That night, the dealership was empty. But Scott couldn't sleep. He paced his condo, replaying every word, every glance, every chuckle he and Tom had shared at Tyrese's expense. He poured himself a drink, but didn't touch it. Finally, he picked up the phone and called Tom. We need to talk, he said. I have an idea. The next morning, Tyrese was in a sunlit conference room in San Jose, speaking to a roundtable of startup founders. His presence commanded the room not just because of his reputation, but because of how he carried himself, grounded, clear, and unshakably calm. And that's the trap, Tyrese said. You get your first real funding. You buy the car, the watch, the penthouse. But if your soul's empty, all of it rusts. So build something that outlives your ego. The room nodded, pens flying across notepads. Just as the panel wrapped up, Maya approached and whispered, You're getting a call. It's the dealership. Tyrese raised an eyebrow. Already. He took the phone and walked to the window. This is Tyrese, Mr. King. Scott's voice came through, nervous and fast. First, I just want to deeply apologize for how we treated you yesterday. I'm ashamed. No excuses. I misjudged you. We misjudged you. Tyrese said nothing. I know we messed up, and I know you probably don't want anything to do with us again. But I wanted to ask to beg, really for a chance to make it right. Not with gifts, not with free stuff. with actions, real ones. Tyrese let the silence hang before responding. Go on. We want to partner with your scholarship foundation, sponsor internships, hire from your programs. We'll change our hiring practices, diversify the team, get anti-bias training. And more than that, we want to set up a mentorship initiative inside the dealership. Real opportunities. We'll do the work. One, swear it. Tyrese's voice was calm. Why now? Scott, because I saw what I became yesterday, and I didn't like it. And I watched a child look at you like a hero. I don't want to be the reason he doubts himself one day. Tyrese was silent again. Then he said, You've got one shot. Thank you, sir. Truly. I won't let you down. Tyrese ended the call and stared out the window for a long time. Later that week, Micah received a letter in the mail. It had gold trim and bore the TK Holdings logo. Inside was a note written in Tyrese's own handwriting to Micah. You asked me if I ever get bored being rich. The truth is, the money doesn't matter if I can't use it to lift someone else up. So, this is for you. A pass, a ticket, a door opener. When the time comes, walk through it with pride. Attached to the note was a gold embossed membership card for the TK Mentorship Initiative and a voucher for a full academic scholarship valid the moment Micah graduated high school. Micah screamed so loud his grandma dropped her laundry basket. Across the city, the dealership had changed. The showroom now displayed a plaque on the wall, Everyone Belongs, in honor of Tyrese King. The staff had undergone full inclusivity training. New interns walked the halls, some in hoodies, some in suits, all of them brilliant. Tyrese returned a month later, not for a car, but to meet those interns. He sat with them, talked dreams, laughed, listened. He watched a 17-year-old girl named Layla sit in a Ferrari and say, one day, I'm going to design my own line of electric supercars. He smiled. And I'll be your first investor. But there was one more chapter still to write. At an industry gala in Beverly Hills, Scott spotted Tyrese across the room. He nervously made his way over, drink in hand. Mr. King, he said softly, I wanted to say, thank you. You could have destroyed us. Instead, you taught us. Tyrese shook his hand firmly. I didn't do it for you. Scott nodded. I know. You did it for the next kid who walks in. Tyrese's eyes gleamed. Damn right. As he turned away, cameras flashed. People stared. And somewhere in that room, someone whispered, Who's that guy? Another voice answered, That's Tyrese King. He doesn't just buy dreams. He builds them. And far away, back in that same neighborhood where it all began, Micah sat at his desk, working on a sketch of a car that didn't exist yet, but someday would, because someone had believed he could. 2 years later, the sky above Los Angeles shimmered with the sunset's golden haze, and the new TK Dream Center stood tall glass, steel, and vision on the very block Tyrese used to walk through as a boy, the same sidewalk where he once pressed his face to dealership windows and imagined himself behind the wheel. The Dream Center wasn't a showroom. It was a launch pad, coding labs, recording studios, business incubators. It buzzed with youth Black, Latino, Asian, indigenous, white, all backgrounds, all stories, unified by a belief, we belong here. Tyrese watched from the rooftop garden as groups of students gave elevator pitches to investors. Others laughed in the cafeteria below. In one corner, a robotics demo was in full swing, and in another, a fashion design workshop spun beats and stitching into brand new futures. Maya joined him, holding a folder. You've got a visitor. Tyrese didn't look away from the view. Do I know them? She smiled. You will. Inside the atrium, Micah stood taller now, 15 years old, leaner, sharper, confidence radiating in his posture. He wore a crisp white polo jeans, and his old sneakers still stitched where they'd once torn. Tyrese descended the stairs slowly. Look who's grown up. Micah turned, broke into a grin. I didn't know if you'd remember me. Tyrese placed a hand on his shoulder. I don't forget kings. Micah opened his bag and pulled out a wrinkled piece of paper. It was a sketch, a sleek electric car with eagle wing doors and solar panels lining the roof. The logo, a stylized M. I want to make this real one day. Tyrese studied the drawing. Looks like it belongs in the future. Micah hesitated. Do you think I have a shot? Tyrese smiled. You don't just have a shot, Micah. You've got a runway. And this center, it's your hangar. That same week, Tyrese got another call from someone he hadn't heard from in years. Tyrese, it's Scott. Tyrese's voice was calm. Didn't expect to hear from you. I just wanted to let you know I've stepped down from the dealership, sold my stake, started something new. Tyrese raised an eyebrow. What kind of something? A consultancy. Helping luxury brands build inclusive customer experiences. I want to help companies see what I couldn't before. There was silence. Listen, Scott continued. I'm not asking for a medal. I just thought you should know that you changed my life, not with a threat, but with grace. Teresa's voice softened. Glad you're doing the work. Before he could hang up, Scott added, there's one more thing. I met this kid. Works at a community garage. Brilliant. Fixes engines blindfolded. Wants to go to college. I'd like to sponsor him. Tyrese smiled. Now that's the ripple effect. By now, news of Tyrese's story had rippled across business schools, TED Talks, and social media. One clip went viral. When I walked into that dealership, they saw my skin before they saw my worth. That was their mistake. But I've made sure no kid with a dream ever walks in and feels small again. But fame wasn't the goal. Legacy was. And legacy, Tyrese knew, was built not in boardrooms, but in small rooms, classrooms, youth centers, bedrooms lit by laptop screens and ambition. Back at the Dream Center, Micah was giving a tour to a new group of students. This is where the 3D printers are, he said, and that's the startup incubator. And over there, that's the wall of dreamers, every person who's come through here and built something of their own. A girl asked, what about you? What did you build? Micah grinned. I am still building, but I know who gave me the blueprint. He looked up at the mural on the wall, Tyrese, arms crossed, standing in front of the phantom, surrounded by a swirl of chalk outlines, kids with books, laptops, music notes, ideas, dreams. 6 months later, a surprise guest arrived at the Dream Center. It was Tom, the young sales rep who had once laughed behind Scott, now older, dressed plainly in khakis and a soft blue sweater. He looked around awkwardly, then asked a staff member, is Mr. King here? Tyrese met him in the lobby. Tom held out a hand. I came to apologize, really. I've been carrying guilt for years. I'm working with youth now, mentoring young men trying to leave gang life. But I needed to see you, face to face. Tyrese shook his hand firmly. Growth matters more than guilt. Tom blinked. You're still too generous. Tyrese chuckled. I'm just not interested in dragging chains behind me. That slows the climb. They sat together for a while. Two men who once stood on opposite sides of a judgment, now connected by change. Later, Micah ran up to Tyrese with a laptop in hand. Mr. King, you gotta see this. He pulled up a design, the same car sketch but now rendered in 3D, with specs, simulations, and branding. I've entered it into the Youth Mobility Challenge. Top prize is a full grant to build the prototype. Tyrese grinned. Let's get you a pitch, coach. Micah nodded excitedly. Will you be at the finals? Tyrese stood. I wouldn't miss it. The day of the Youth Mobility Challenge finals arrived under a cloudless sky. Sunlight pouring down on the open-air tech campus in Silicon Beach. Drones hovered overhead. Camera crews moved like clockwork, and banners waved in the wind with bold lettering, Drive the Future. Micah stood backstage in a navy blazer, sneakers, and pressed slacks, hands shaking slightly. His laptop was open to the final render of the M1, his concept electric vehicle. He stared at it, eyes intense. Tyrese stood behind him, quiet and watchful. He placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. You ready? Micah hesitated. I think so. Tyrese smiled. Think like a king. Not a maybe. Not a someday. Today. Micah took a breath and nodded. Yeah, I'm ready. As he walked onto the stage, the crowd hushed. Judges included auto industry executives, angel investors, and one surprising face, Layla, now 19, Tyrese's protege and founder of a startup designing sustainable EV batteries. She gave Micah a subtle nod of encouragement. He took the mic. My name is Micah James. I'm 15, and I want to change how cities breathe. The crowd leaned in. Micah clicked to the first slide, a wireframe of the M1. This car isn't about flex. It's about function. It charges from the sun. It runs from the heart. It's built for communities like mine, where smog hangs thick and dreams often stall out. He moved through each spec like a pro. Modular battery, predictive maintenance, AI, biodegradable interior components. He even included a community subscription model for low-income neighborhoods to share ownership. When the applause hit, it was real. Backstage, Tyrese exhaled and whispered, he nailed it. Later that evening, the results came in. Third place, the BioDrive team from Oakland. Second place, Team Orion, UCLA. And the winner of this year's Youth Mobility Challenge, Micah James and the M01 Project. Tyrese was the first to his feet, clapping with both hands, pride bursting from his chest. He didn't cry often, but now, he wiped the corners of his eyes as Micah stood there on stage, beaming like a sunrise, clutching the trophy. The host handed Micah the mic again. Anything you want to say? Micah turned, eyes scanning the crowd, then locking onto one man. I want to thank Mr. Tyrese King. He didn't just buy me a ride home that day, he gave me a reason to believe that someone like me could ride all the way to the top. He paused, and this win isn't just for me. It's for every kid who ever got stared at like they didn't belong. For every dreamer who's had a door shut in their face. You don't need to wait for someone to open that door for you. Be the one who builds the damn building. The standing ovation was thunderous. Back at the Dream Center that night, Tyrese and Micah sat on the rooftop, the city stretching out in gold and black beneath them. You made history today, Tyrese said. Micah smiled. Feels more like a beginning. That's how you know it's real. There was a moment of silence. Then Micah asked something he'd never asked before. Why me? Why'd you let me into your car that day? Tyrese stared at the stars above, the same ones once painted into the roof of his Phantom. Because you look like me, he said. Hungry, curious, a little mad at the world, and a lot ready to change it. Micah nodded slowly. So what now? Tyrese turned. Now we build bigger, bolder, maybe even an M1 production line. If you're ready. Micah grinned. I'm so ready. They stood together, shoulder to shoulder, past and future. One man who had fought to rise. One boy who would never fall the same way. Back in that same dealership, which had now rebranded to King Auto Gallery. Scott's replacement, a young black woman named Denise, walked the floor with two teenage interns. They wore TK mentorship pins on their collars and were practicing greeting customers with dignity, no matter what they wore. A man walked in dreadlocks, boots, and a hoodie. One intern smiled wide and said, Welcome, sir. What can we help you find today? Tyrese walked forward, grinning. I'm just browsing. The intern chuckled. Take your time, Mr. King. A year passed. The M1 prototype was now real sleek, efficient, and turning heads. Micah now, 16, had just finished presenting it at the International Youth Tech Expo in Geneva. Investors called, media chased. The whispers had started. The next Elon might be a Micah. But Tyrese wasn't in Geneva that day. He was back in LA, standing inside his mother's old diner, the same one where she'd worked double shifts to put food on their table. Often sleeping in the back room while Tyrese did homework beside the fridge hum. The diner had been closed for nearly a decade. Now, it had reopened. King's Table read the gold-plated sign outside. It was restored, warm, and bustling with community members who paid whatever they could or nothing at all. A pay-it-forward restaurant, where the only currency was kindness. Mom would have loved this. Tyrese whispered. Maya stood beside him. She would have run the place better than any of us. They both smiled, but Tyrese's eyes were distant, thoughtful. He turned. You ever wonder what it would have been like if no one had doubted me? Maya shook her head. No, because maybe it was their doubt that made you this relentless. Tyrese nodded, slowly, maybe. That night, as he drove home, he passed the old apartment complex where he grew up. Something made him stop the car. He stepped out and walked toward the rusted gate. In the courtyard, a group of kids were sitting on a stoop, arguing about basketball. One of them noticed him. Yo, isn't that the guy from YouTube? Another boy elbowed him. That's Tyrese King, dummy. He owns, like, everything. Tyrese smiled and walked over. You guys hoop around here? The boys nodded. You any good? The tallest one smirked. We don't lose. Tyrese laughed. Wanna bet? And for the next hour, in leather sneakers and designer jeans, Tyrese played barefoot basketball with the neighborhood kids until sweat poured down his face and laughter echoed against the buildings. When they finally collapsed on the curb, one of the boys, a shy kid with oversized glasses, turned to him and asked, Is it true they tried to kick you out of a dealership? Tyrese nodded. They didn't think I belonged, but now you do. Tyrese looked at him seriously. I don't just belong. I built the table. The boy blinked. What if they don't ever let me in? Tyrese leaned forward, locking eyes with him. Then you knock. And if they don't open, you don't wait. You build your own door, painted gold, and open it for the next kid. The boy nodded, his chest rising with a quiet pride he didn't have before. Later that night, Tyrese drove back to the Dream Center and walked into the auditorium. A documentary crew had finished setting up for the premiere of King, the Man Behind the Phantom. It was a full house. As the lights dimmed, a hush fell. The opening scene played, the dealership, the judgment, the silence, that first stare. Tyrese, alone, walking past rows of cars. Then the reveal, the reversal, the ripple. The audience gasped. Some wept. Midway through, the screen cut to interviews. Scott, Tom, Layla, Maya, Micah, even Micah's grandma. And then, to the camera, Micah said, Mr. King never asked for revenge. He planted seeds. He built light. He gave legacy. They thought he came for a car, but really, he came to change the world. The lights rose. The applause came slowly, then all at once. Standing ovation. No one sat. Tyrese stood at the back, quietly taking it in, a man full of fire, now wrapped in peace. Micah ran up, still glowing from the screen. You good? He asked. Tyrese nodded. Yeah, I think I am. Because people are saying I should go on tour with the M1. Speak, build the team. I want to lead it, but I want you beside me. Tyrese chuckled. You don't need me beside you anymore. Micah paused. Then at least, be my first investor. Tyrese laughed, opened his arms, and pulled him in. You were always the investment. 3 months later, TK Motors launched with Micah as CEO at just 16, Tyrese as chairman, and Layla as CTO. They debuted the M01 at CES. Pre-orders broke every youth entrepreneur record. But more than numbers, they became a symbol, a car born of being underestimated, a movement born from being dismissed, a crown carved from rejection. And in dealerships across the country, new signs appeared. Respect is standard. Judgment is not welcome here. Some showed a mural Tyrese and Micah, side by side, hands clasped. Others simply read, inspired by the day they tried to stop a king.